Hello everyone and welcome to Brain Fruits, the podcast on female solutions for business and society. I'm your host, Hannah Becker, and today I have the great pleasure to take you on a journey around the globe as I speak with women leaders that tackle some of the most pressing issues of our time. You can listen to Brain Fruits on all major streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And today, I have the great pleasure to introduce you to Johanna Kühne. She is the co-founder of SuperCoop.
Hi, Johanna. Nice to meet you and nice to have you as a podcast guest for Brain Fruits. Could you tell us about yourself as a social entrepreneur and the Berlin-based supermarkets that you have recently founded called SuperCoop?
Yes, for sure. I'm Johanna, and with SuperCoop, we're founding a community-owned supermarket. So it's basically a supermarket that is owned by everyone who shops there, owned by all its members, and also every member works for 3 hours every 4 weeks in the supermarket. So it's very community-driven and community-operated, and because of this cooperation, we have good and fair, transparent prices for good products. The ultimate goal of this is to have more sustainable, healthy food choices available for more people.
Wow, great. Like more sustainable food choices for a greater user base sounds really inspiring. How is SuperCoop setting an example of the sustainable supermarket for the future?
Yeah, I think mainly 3 aspects. So one is really the transparency aspect, because the status quo of retail and especially food retail is not transparent on the pricing mechanisms, often not on the exact origins of the products, on their social and environmental impacts, on where the money flows that you spend as a customer. And we think that we should know that as consumers. And then there is this democratic aspect that you are, as a co-owner, you really have also a vote in the General Assembly. You have a say on what products are in the shelves in the end. So the whole supermarket really acts in the interest of its members. And then the third aspect is also this community aspect, that we want to do things together, and that we believe that as very individual people with our own personal stories, we can come together and also make a change.
Listening to that, I would be very happy to shop at SuperCoop. When you look at the model from SuperCoop, this model is already successful in other major cities such as New York with like 17,000 members, in Paris with 7,000 members, and in Brussels even with 2,000. How do you ensure the financial viability?
So in general, it works like the business model. It works a bit like a normal supermarket. So we buy the products, and then we have a margin on the products, and this is how we generate money that we can pay the rent with, pay a few employees with, and all the costs that you have. But also the special thing about the whole business model is that every member contributes. So every member is kind of a little investor, if you want it like that, because they buy a share and they become a co-owner. And they also contribute with their 3 hours. They work every 4 weeks. So it's very, like community operated. And otherwise, also another difference is that our margin is transparent for all our members and basically the same for our product. So it's very clear how much we put on top when it comes to the price of the products.
Yeah, very true. So as like an interested shareholder in your model, I would need to work 3 hours a month in your supermarket. On the other hand, I have the benefit that I would exactly see where the products come from. I can even influence the product selection process and can state some personal or cultural preferences, as it seems, to the selection that you would offer in SuperCoop. What other benefits could I expect as a shareholder of the supermarket?
Yeah, transparency is definitely a big one, I would say. Then, of course, it's also this community aspect that you meet also other people, and it's probably really also just like having a say, having a vote, and being really sure that the supermarket acts in your interest.
I think this is something that has the potential to transform other supermarkets. Is like your competition becoming a bit afraid of you guys? Are they starting to eye you?
No, not really, unfortunately. When it comes to competition, I would say like the big players, and I mean the whole food retail is really a scene where a lot of big or not so many big players kind of own the whole market. They don't see us as competition, but it's pretty interesting because there are now other cooperatives with the same or a similar model emerging in Germany and especially in France, around Paris there. So I think that's really where the power also lies in like inspiring others and not having this like ownership and expanding and scaling in a typical way, but rather replicating good ideas.
Yeah, very much sounds super inspiring. I think to not have this top-down approach, but really to think the reverse mechanics. So to go from the actual consumer or the shareholder to value creation. Getting a bit more personal now, you're a female in a pretty tough environment, I imagine, in the retail space. What are some of the roadblocks that you encountered as a female social entrepreneur in the retail environment?
Yeah, it's sometimes a bit also hard to say like why challenges are there. Like, but we're a pretty young and very female team. That's for sure. So of course, we have many different members now. I think we're over 300 members in the co-op by now, which is great. And of course, there is a big diversity when it comes to gender and age. But we're 4 female founders in the chair of our co-op. And sometimes I also, very much like the idea because that's not the normal way a chair is built when you look at statistics.
Yeah, that sounds like a good environment or like a good community that you're shaping there together with your 3 other board members. How do you have some examples for the roadblocks or challenges that you encountered along the way?
It was definitely also a lot of like team building in the beginning. So it was definitely not clear from like after 5 minutes. It's like, yes, that's now the team we want to found a project with and found a cooperative and do that. So it was more like, there's an interesting model and it already works in some other cities. Why doesn't it exist also in Berlin? And then like forming a team and maybe having the same ideas, having very different ideas, being in this like we're a community-owned project. So how do we want to make decisions together? It's not just one person or a few people that are already super close friends starting a business, but it was really like a lot of team building, team creation, community building. On which value basis do we want to work together? What are really our goals that we want to follow with this project? Where do we want to go? So many operational things like finding a good location for the supermarket. Like how do we do that? Which criteria do we use? Yeah, getting enough members on board, getting the project finance, building the whole financial plan.
Talking about this saturated market and the challenge to build a team, to build a community, what are some of your problem-solving strategies that you've used in the past to build communities and to address some of these issues of value creation in a market that is already so saturated?
For the community building aspect, I think it was also very important that we didn't start from scratch with every new team member joining the project. Having also, okay, these are the values that we defined now, and these are the goals we want to follow. And we want other people to join this mission and vision and join the project. So it was also very important for us that we don't create something that nobody needs. And that was also a bit why we did a first crowdfunding campaign end of 2019, even before we founded the official cooperative. And it was many times, I think, also members and people joining. We have a little welcome session for interested people, at least once a week at the moment. And every time new people are joining, bringing their own motivations and really saying, okay, we need an alternative. We're not satisfied with the saturated market. We want to be part of a different system and part of an alternative. Our members give us the answer.
You don't even try to compete with the existing retail space, but you really try to listen to the ultimate users of the supermarkets and asking them, what is it that would bring value to you? What is your preference? Do you value sustainability? What about transparency? I think these are very interesting concepts that have not been used in the traditional retail space. Talking a little bit about the future now, what's your vision for SuperCoop in the coming 10 years?
Yeah, so first, of course, we want to create the first really community-owned supermarket in Berlin, and also expand with different pickup stations. For sure, encouraging other projects in other cities also to do the same. There is now like a project in Munich, in Cologne, in Hamburg. They're all starting, that we all try to set examples that we can do things in a different way. I think that's the vision, to not only scale up SuperCoop, but really also spread this idea.
Yeah, nice. I mean, that sounds like an entire new market is not only created by you, but it's also going to be sustained by your initial initiative. Coming to the end of this recording, what are some of your recommendations, your brain fruits you would like to share with our brain fruits community?
I would say it's definitely important to connect to organizations when you start maybe also something new. I can also really recommend, it's very specific. We actually, all of our board members, we read the book Starting a Revolution, which is also about female entrepreneurship. And I think it has definitely better advice than I could ever give here. I think it's also very important to always question the status quo, because when I now look back, maybe 2 or 3 years, I accepted a lot of things because I thought they're super normal, and they're just part of how our economy and how our society works. And this is also connected into how we think about the role of women in society, and also the leadership when it comes to business and our economy. But economy and society, these are things that we created as human beings, so we can also change them, and we need to change them to fight climate change, and to have like a good living on this planet.
I love that you say that, like exactly, we build society, we build the economy, so it's upon us to kind of figure out how do we envision the future of society, the future of economy. I think that's going to be great inspiration for our Brain Fruits community. I just want to thank you very much for your time and for being part of Brain Fruits. It's been a pleasure to have you and to hear about SuperCoop.
It was a pleasure to be here.